Long ago, the great kingdoms of Valenor and Durnmere sealed their alliance with a promise. A royal marriage between Princess Marceline of Valenor and Prince Lucien of Durnmere. They were betrothed when they were children, bound not by love, but by duty and the hopes of peace. Years passed like the turning of tides. Now Princess Marceline had come of age, 19, graceful and beautiful beyond words, and the long-awaited day had finally arrived. Prince Lucien was on his way to Valenor to meet the princess he was destined to marry. He had heard countless tales about her, that her beauty could calm storms and her voice could silence rooms. The thought of finally meeting her filled his heart with excitement and hope. At last, he said to his advisor as the carriage wheels turned, "I will see the woman who has been promised to me since birth." And far away, in the grand halls of Valenor, Princess Marceline stood before her mirror, blushing with joy. She too had heard stories, that the prince was handsome, noble, and kind. "I can't wait to see him," she whispered to her reflection. "Perhaps love was written for me after all." While the kingdom prepared for the engagement celebration, another princess had her own plans. Princess Ela, the king's younger daughter, was only 17, playful, curious, and full of life. Where Marceline spent her days in the royal court, Ela spent hers climbing trees, exploring forests, and sneaking into town disguised as a commoner. Her maid and best friend Tessa was her constant companion and her unwilling partner in mischief. That morning, as musicians tuned their harps for the evening's celebration, Ela pulled a cloak over her dress and grinned. "Come, Tessa, just one quick adventure before the feast. I'll be back before they even notice." Tessa gasped. "Your sister's engagement is today, Ela. If the queen finds out—" "She won't," Ela said with a wink. "Besides, the forest is calling." And before Tessa could argue further, they slipped out through the servants' gate and vanished into the golden woods of Valenor. Meanwhile, on the other side of the forest, Prince Lucien's chariot slowed to a halt. They had traveled for days, and his guards needed rest. The prince, eager to stretch his legs, stepped away from the road and followed the sound of rushing water. Through the trees, sunlight danced on a small stream, and there he saw her. A young girl, laughing softly as she skipped stones across the water. Her hair shimmered like sunlight on ripples, and her smile was unguarded, wild, free, alive. Lucien paused, hidden behind the trees, entranced. When she turned and saw him, both froze, two strangers caught in a moment that felt strangely fated. "Oh," she said, startled but smiling. "I didn't hear anyone approach." "Forgive me," Lucien replied gently. "I didn't mean to startle you. I was only chasing the sound of the stream, and found something far more beautiful." Ela blushed, unsure what to say. "Are you a traveler?" "Of sorts," he answered, hiding the truth. "Just passing through Valenor." They talked for a while, about the forest, the kingdom, the stars. Lucien had never met anyone who laughed so freely, and she had never met anyone who listened so closely. For the first time in his life, Lucien forgot who he was supposed to be. He was simply a man, enchanted by a girl beside a stream. As the sun began to dip, Tessa finally appeared, breathless and worried. "Ela, we must go. The palace will soon notice your absence," she whispered. Ela turned to Lucien reluctantly. "I must go. My family will be waiting." Lucien took a step forward. "Will I see you again?" She hesitated, her heart racing. "Perhaps, if the forest wills it." "Then I'll trust the forest," he said with a soft smile. "My name is Lucien." "Ela," she replied shyly. "It's been wonderful meeting you, Lucien." They parted ways, two hearts bound by a single stolen afternoon. On the way home, Ela couldn't stop talking about him. "Tessa," she whispered dreamily, "I think I've met the one. I don't even know who he is, but my heart feels as if it's known him forever." Tessa laughed nervously. "You and your fairy tale dreams. Don't forget, tonight is your sister's engagement." But as the palace lights glowed in the distance, Ela smiled softly to herself. She didn't yet know that the man she'd fallen for, the one she'd met by the stream, was the same prince her sister was meant to marry. Back in the palace, the sun dipped low, casting golden light through Princess Ela's chamber windows. She couldn't stop smiling, twirling in front of her mirror, humming the same tune that had played in her heart since the forest. Every time she thought of the boy by the stream, his kind eyes, his soft laughter, her cheeks grew warm. Her maid Tessa watched her with a teasing grin. "You've been smiling since morning, your highness. Tell me, who has stolen your heart?" Before Elleraine could answer, a gentle knock came at the door. It was Princess Marceline, radiant in a gown of silver and rose. "Ela," she said, stepping inside with excitement. "Look at my dress. Do you think the prince will like it?" Elleraine clapped her hands in admiration. "It's beautiful, Marcy. You'll look like the morning sun itself." Marceline blushed, brushing her sister's hair affectionately. "You seem awfully cheerful today. What has you smiling like that?" Elleraine hesitated, then her heart spilled over with joy. "Oh, Marcy, you won't believe it. I met someone today by the stream, a stranger. He was so gentle, so different. I don't even know his family or where he's from, but my heart feels as if I've known him forever." Marceline gasped softly, her eyes bright. "My little sister is in love. Oh, Elleraine, that's wonderful." The two sisters hugged, laughing with the kind of happiness only love can bring. "You see," Marceline said, smiling, "we're both so lucky. I'm about to meet my prince, and you found someone who makes you glow. What a blessed day." Neither of them knew how cruel fate could be, or how soon their joy would turn into heartbreak. Trumpets echoed through the valley. The gates of Valenor Palace swung wide open. The royal family stood proudly outside the castle. King Arden, Queen Thalia, Princesses Marceline and Elleraine, their young brother Prince Cedric, and a rows of royal attendants. From the horizon came a shimmering procession, banners of silver and blue, armor gleaming in the sunlight. The royal carriage of Durnmere, draped in gold and velvet, approached with majesty. This is called a royal coach, covered and drawn by 4 white horses. As the carriage stopped, guards stepped aside, and Prince Lucien descended first. When Elleraine's eyes met his, time stopped. Her breath caught. His hand froze mid-motion. In that single moment, realization struck them both like lightning. He was the boy by the stream, and she was the sister of the woman he was meant to marry. They masked their shock beneath polite smiles. Marceline, seeing him for the first time, felt her heart leap with pure joy. He was everything she had imagined, tall, elegant, and kind-eyed. She turned to Elleraine, whispering, "Isn't he perfect?" Elleraine forced a small smile. "He is." But inside, her heart was breaking. Lucien's father, King Roland of Durnmere, stepped forward and bowed. "King Arden of Valenor, it's an honor to finally unite our kingdoms as one family." The two kings shook hands warmly. Queen Helena of Durnmere greeted Queen Thalia with a gracious smile, while Lucien stood silently beside them, his eyes darting once more toward Elleraine. Then came the introductions. "May I present my son?" said King Roland proudly, Prince Lucien of Durnmere, heir to the northern throne, and his sister, Princess Amorous. The Valenor royals bowed slightly in return. King Arden turned to his daughters with a proud smile. "And this is my eldest, Princess Marceline of Valenor, soon to be your betrothed." Marceline curtsied gracefully, her cheeks glowing. Lucien took her hand and bowed. "It's an honor, your highness." Her heart fluttered. His voice was even more charming than she'd imagined. But when the king introduced the younger princess, "And this is my youngest, Princess Elleraine." Lucien froze. Their hands met again, the same warmth, the same spark, only now both of them knew it was forbidden. Elleraine's smile faltered, trembling under the weight of truth. He stared into her eyes longer than he should have, long enough for everyone to notice. Queen Thalia cleared her throat softly. Lucien finally let go, though reluctantly, his eyes lowering in quiet despair. Marceline noticed the look, the unspoken connection, and for a brief second, jealousy flared like a shadow behind her smile. But she brushed it off quickly, convincing herself it was nothing. As the royal family led their guests into the castle, Lucien looked back one last time, at the girl who had captured his heart, and at the crown that stood between them. Ella sat quietly in her chamber, staring at the evening sky. The sun had melted into shades of gold and crimson, but her heart felt heavy. She'd spent all day trying to shake the image of Lucien's face when she realized who he truly was. Tessa entered, holding a pale blue gown. "Your Highness, everyone's preparing for the feast. You haven't even started dressing." Ella gave a small, sad smile. "Tessa, remember the boy I told you about? The one I met at the stream?" Tessa raised an eyebrow. "Of course, the charming stranger who stole your heart in one afternoon." Ella swallowed hard. "He's not just anyone, Tess. He's Prince Lucien." Tessa froze. "What, Lucien?" The same prince betrothed to Princess Marceline? Ella nodded slowly, her eyes glistening. Yes, the one I was so excited to meet. Turns out, he came for my sister. Tessa sat beside her, holding her hand. Oh, Ella! Ella tried to smile, but her voice trembled. I didn't know, neither did he, and now I must watch the man I love marry my own sister. Tessa sighed deeply. Fate has a cruel sense of humor. What will you do? Ella blinked away tears. Nothing. I'll bury it. Marcy deserves to be happy. But even as she said it, her heart whispered the opposite. He was never meant for anyone else but you. In the palace courtyard, strings played softly while torches flickered to life. Lucien and Marceline walked side by side under a sky just beginning to darken, their attendants following at a polite distance. Marceline couldn't hide her excitement. It feels like a dream. I've waited for this day since I was a girl, hearing stories of Prince Lucien of Durnmere, brave, noble, and kind. Lucien smiled politely, though his heart wasn't in it. You're very gracious, Princess Marceline. I'm honored to finally meet you. She blushed, her eyes bright. You don't have to be so formal. Call me Marcy. He chuckled softly. All right, Marcy. They strolled through the garden, but while she talked about the union, the upcoming feast, and her excitement for the engagement, Lucien's thoughts drifted elsewhere, to the stream, to laughter, to a girl whose eyes carried sunlight. Marceline noticed his distant look, but brushed it off, believing it was nerves. Tomorrow our kingdoms will celebrate us. Isn't it wonderful? Lucien forced a smile. Yes, wonderful. Yet inside he felt trapped between duty and desire, between two sisters, one promised to him and one who already held his heart. The great hall shimmered with gold and candlelight. Musicians played gentle tunes while servants poured wine into jeweled goblets. Lucien and Marceline sat together beside their parents at the long royal table. They looked perfect, the betrothed prince and princess. Across from them sat Ella, her little brother Cedric, and Lucien's 15-year-old sister, Princess Amorous. Amorous was bright and curious. She leaned toward Ella with a grin. I heard you love painting too. My mother says I spend too much time with brushes instead of books. Ella laughed softly. Then we're the same. I hide my canvases before my tutor finds them. Both girls giggled quietly, talking about colors, sunsets, and silly painting mishaps. For the first time that day, Ela's smile returned, and Lucien noticed. As Marceline spoke beside him, he couldn't stop stealing glances across the table. Ella's laughter rang like music, her eyes glowing in the candlelight. Every glance was a silent ache, a reminder of what he could never have. Marceline followed his gaze. Her heart sank. She saw it, the way he looked at Ella, the softness in his eyes, the smile that wasn't meant for her. Her own smile faltered, jealousy creeping in like poison. Just then, Ella rose to serve herself from the banquet table. Lucien seized the moment and stood. Princess Ela, he said softly, joining her near the wine table, his voice trembling between guilt and longing. So, you're a princess. Ella nodded, trying to hide her sadness. And you're the prince betrothed to my sister. He exhaled. I didn't know. If I had, neither of us did. She interrupted quietly. But what's done is done, Your Highness. He hesitated. Will I ever see you again? Ella looked away, whispering, We both know we shouldn't. But before she could leave, he murmured, Tomorrow, the stream. Her heart raced, but she said nothing, only turned and walked away. From afar, Marceline had seen everything. Their closeness, the tension, the way her sister's breath caught at his words. Her hands trembled around her goblet, eyes dark with jealousy. The forest was bathed in soft golden light as the afternoon sun began to fade. Ella and Lucien sat by the stream, their laughter mingling with the sound of rippling water. For a brief moment, the world was simple. Just a boy and a girl, hearts beating in rhythm. But as the sky turned orange, the weight of reality settled over them. Ella stood, brushing her gown softly. I should go, she said quietly. Your engagement is tonight, to my sister. Lucien's smile faded. Don't remind me. She tried to smile, though her heart was breaking. You'll make her happy, Lucien. That's all that matters now. He stepped closer. And what about you? Ella looked down. I'll learn to forget, for her sake, for everyone's. Lucien's voice trembled. Don't say that, Ella. I can't forget you. Her eyes glistened with tears, but she shook her head. You must. Goodbye, Lucien. She turned to leave, her steps slow, heavy, until suddenly he reached out and pulled her gently back. Before she could speak, his lips met hers, soft, desperate, and full of the love neither of them could claim. Ela froze, her heart racing. Then she pulled away, breathless and stunned. "Lucien," he whispered. "Even if the world forbids it, I'll always remember you." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she turned and ran, her heart both full and shattered. The perfect fairy tale she had dreamed of was starting to crack, and she didn't yet know just how far she'd go to keep it whole. By midday, Marceline was in her chamber, humming while trying on a new gown when her maid entered, pale and breathless. "My lady," the maid whispered, "I saw something you must know." Marceline turned curious. "What is it?" "It's about your sister and Prince Lucien." Marceline froze. "What about them?" The maid hesitated, then confessed everything. The secret meeting at the stream, the way they held hands, the way he looked at her. At first, Marceline laughed it off. "You must be mistaken. Ela would never do such a thing." But as the maid described every detail, the willow, the way they spoke, Marceline's laughter faded. Her face drained of color, then slowly hardened. "She knew," Marceline whispered, her voice trembling. "She knew he was mine, and she still met him." The maid bowed her head. "I only tell you because I care for you, my lady. You deserve to know the truth." Marceline stood silently, staring into the mirror. For the first time she saw not the kind sister who shared her laughter, but a rival, one who had stolen the heart meant for her. Tears filled her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. "No one must know of this," she said coldly. "Not even my parents. Do you understand?" The maid nodded. When she was alone again, Marceline clenched her fists. "If he loves Ela," she whispered, "then I'll make him forget her." Her voice shook with pain and jealousy. "He will be mine, even if I must break her heart to have him." Ela returned to the palace quietly, her mind spinning. The memory of the kiss burned in her chest, a painful, beautiful wound she wished she could hide forever. But she didn't know that someone had already seen. Marceline's maid had told her everything, the secret meetings, the laughter, and now the kiss. Marceline waited in Ela's chamber, fury burning behind her eyes. When Ela entered, Marceline stood from her seat sharply. "Where are you coming from?" Ela froze. I went out for a walk." Marceline's voice rose. "A walk with Lucien?" Ela's breath caught. "Marcy, please." "Don't lie to me," Marceline snapped, tears mixing with anger. "My maid saw you. She saw you with him, laughing, talking, and then you let him kiss you." Ela's eyes filled instantly. "Marcy, please listen to me. I didn't know. The boy I told you about, the one I met by the stream, the one I fell in love with, it was Lucien. I didn't know he was your betrothed." Marceline's chest heaved. "And yet you still went to meet him?" "I just wanted to say goodbye," Ela cried. "I swear I never meant to steal him from you. You're my sister. I would never." But Marceline stepped back, her face twisted with betrayal. "Don't you dare call me sister after what you've done. You knew how much this meant to me. You ruined everything." Ela fell to her knees, sobbing. "I'm sorry, Marcy. Please forgive me." But Marceline only turned away, voice trembling with rage. "You may have his heart, Ela, but I'll have his name, and that's all that matters." She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Tessa rushed in seconds later, wrapping Ela in her arms as she cried uncontrollably. "Oh, my sweet princess," Tessa whispered. "Sometimes love is a curse, not a blessing." Evening descended once more, but joy did not fill the palace. Candles burned bright, music echoed through the halls, yet both Lucien and Ela wore masks of forced smiles. Lucien stood in his royal uniform, his mother helping him fix his collar. She looked at him quietly, her eyes soft but knowing. "You don't look happy," she said gently. Lucien sighed, unable to pretend. "Mother, I'm in love, but not with Marceline." She didn't flinch. "Ela?" He looked up, surprised. "You knew?" The queen smiled sadly. "A mother always knows. I saw the way you looked at her, as if the world stopped moving." He dropped his gaze. "Then you understand why I can't go through with this." Her voice turned somber. "Lucien, you must. This union binds 2 kingdoms. If you refuse, it could mean war, or ruin for both our families." Lucien clenched his fists. "So I must sacrifice my heart for duty?" The queen sighed deeply. "Sometimes love must burn quietly in the shadows. Be wise, my son." Moments later, the royal trumpet sounded. The engagement ceremony was beginning. The grand banquet hall glittered with gold and laughter, but only on the surface. Lucien and Marceline stood together before the crowd, exchanging smiles that barely touched their eyes. Ela sat among the guests beside Tessa, her hands trembling beneath the table. Every time she looked up, she met Lucien's eyes, full of sorrow and longing. Marceline noticed. Even as she held Lucien's hand for the ceremonial toast, she could feel that his heart was not with her. Inside, jealousy burned hotter than ever. As Lucien raised his goblet to announce the engagement, his voice faltered slightly. To the union of two kingdoms and the promise of peace. He smiled, but his gaze was fixed only on Ela. The crowd cheered, the music rose. But amid the laughter and clinking glasses, 3 hearts broke quietly. One out of love, one out of guilt, and one out of envy. Marceline sat on her bed, holding her engagement ring. She wanted to be happy. She truly did, but all she could remember was the sadness on Lucien's face during their engagement, and how he couldn't stop looking at Ela. The more she thought about it, the more her chest burned with pain. She remembered how Ella's face glowed the day she told her about meeting a mysterious boy by the stream, and how that glow had turned to tears the day she confronted her. Marceline loved her sister too much to pretend she hadn't noticed. The next morning, the family gathered for breakfast. Ela was nowhere to be found. The queen asked, "Where's Ela?" Tessa quickly replied, "She's resting, Your Majesty. She caught a little cold last night." An awkward silence filled the table. Even the servants moved quietly. It was as though something precious was missing from the air. Marceline forced a smile and said softly, "I'm sure she'll be fine by tomorrow." But deep down, she knew everything wasn't fine. Nothing was. After breakfast, Marceline and Lucien went for a walk in the royal garden. She was determined to make him smile, to remind him that their marriage could still be beautiful. "Prince Lucien," she began cheerfully, "you look like you're about to face a battle, not a wedding." Lucien gave a small smile. "Perhaps it feels like both." Marceline laughed lightly. "You should see how my sister and I used to climb that big tree over there. Father would scold us for ruining our gowns." That made Lucien laugh. Genuinely this time, his eyes softened. "That sounds like her," he said with a smile that reached his eyes. Marceline noticed. The spark she'd been searching for all along had finally appeared, but not because of her. She grew quiet for a moment, then asked softly, "You love her, don't you?" Lucien froze. He didn't answer immediately, but the silence was enough. "I didn't know she was your sister," he said finally. "If I had known, maybe I would have tried to stop my heart, but I couldn't." Marceline looked down at her hands, tears forming in her eyes. "And she loves you too," she said. "I could see it long before either of you spoke a word." Lucien sighed. "I'm sorry, Marceline. I never wanted to hurt you." She smiled weakly through her tears. "You didn't choose this, Lucien. None of us did, but I can't marry a man whose heart belongs to another, especially my sister." Lucien tried to speak, but she stopped him gently. "Follow your heart, Lucien," she said quietly, "because I'm finally following mine." Marceline went straight to Ela's room. Ela was lying on her bed, pale and quiet, her eyes red from crying. Marceline sat beside her and said softly, "So, I heard you caught a cold. Or is it love that's making you sick?" Ela's eyes widened. "Marcy." Before she could say anything else, Marceline hugged her tightly. "I love you, Ela. I can't stand seeing you like this." Ela froze. "Marcy, what are you saying?" Marceline smiled through her tears. "I broke off the engagement. You love him, and he loves you, and I'd rather see you happy than live a lie." Ela's eyes filled with tears. "No, you can't. You're the one he was promised to, not me. I can't take him from you." Marceline shook her head. "You're not taking him, Ela. You're giving both of us peace." Later that day, Marceline went to her parents and told them everything. She told them she couldn't marry Lucien and that Ela should marry him in her place. When the king called both families together and made the announcement, everyone smiled. Even those who didn't know the full story could see that Ela and Lucien were meant for each other. 2 days later, they were married in a beautiful ceremony. Marceline stood beside them, her heart light and free. Ela and Lucien looked at each other with love and gratitude, and as they shared their first kiss as husband and wife, Marceline whispered quietly to herself, "True love always finds its way." The end. If you enjoyed this, please do subscribe, like, and drop a comment. See you next time on another amazing story. Bye.